What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Welcome in to the Nick Club Wrestling Happy Hour here every Friday night at 6 p.m. If you're new here, use the old Samoan spike on the like and subscribe button. As always, I am your virtual bartender, Mr. Nick Teodoro. Joining me is my tag team partner in life, my wife, Miss Nicole. Happy Friday to you, Nicole. What are you drinking this evening?
Happy Friday! I am drinking my signature Tito's orange juice and cranberry juice. What about you, Mr. Nick?
Mr. Nick is drinking his J-Lore, as usual, red wine for the evening, because I am classy this evening. As every evening I am classy. So let's get right into it. So this week's show, we're doing something a little bit differently. We're going to go to our normal recapping the week stuff a little bit later on. But this week, who doesn't love March Madness? Who doesn't like making brackets, gambling a little bit, hopefully winning some money, seeing all the upsets that happen in the rounds? They're bracket busters. So with that being said, we thought we'd do a little March Madness themed show this week. So that being said, we've taken the WrestleMania main events 1 through 32. And by main event, what we mean is the actual final match of the evening. So since we couldn't have a full 64 team or match bracket, we broke that down to the first 32 WrestleManias. I have a bracket. Nicole has a bracket. We hope some of you all...
I did homework. I did, because I made Nick print these out. So I did them manually, and I have notes on the back of each one to go over everything. Not everything, but like... Nicky
me homework this week.
He gave me homework this week, kids.
So, that being said, we've taken all the WrestleMania. So, the seeding is done this way. It's basically every WrestleMania main event. So, the number 1 seed is WrestleMania 1 with Mr. T and Hulk Hogan against Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff. I can't say that.
So, it's like 1 verse 2, 3 verse 4, and then going down that way.
So it's broken up essentially into eras, for lack of a better word. So we will call the first 8 WrestleManias on the left side of this screen, we will call that the golden era of wrestling. Then we have the right side, which, as you can see, you'll see WrestleMania 17 through 24. So very, very interesting bracket in the way things shook up.
Homework.
So... let's get right to, I guess what we could do is we can break it down. What does your bracket look like? Here's the first top of the bracket. Again, the first 8 WrestleManias on the left side. The WrestleMania 17 through 24 on the right side. So before we get to who's your champion, all that fun stuff, who's in your final 4, what I'd like to go and start with is this became a little bit more difficult than just ranking and actually seeding WrestleManias to me, because you see a lot of overlap with whether it's Hulk Hogan. There's some brackets in the lower bracket that you'll see, which I guess we didn't really name that one. The 90s era bracket with Yokozuna is going to be in the main event twice in a row.
It's the new generation era.
That's what we're going to call it. Yeah, I guess.
Well, that's what it's called.
Oh, yeah.
It's Golden Age, then New Generation, then Attitude Era, then PG Era, and Modern, which we don't really have much of, I guess. Maybe
next week with the 8
under. But then I honestly, this Mania, like, I feel like we're post PG era. We're post PG. We're post Vince. Like, Rock is dropping F-bombs, but that's a debate for another day about what we would call this new era. But yeah, no. So Golden, New Gen, Attitude, PG.
So what does your bracket look like? So this is the top bracket. So we'll start with this area. So we have Hogan and Mr. T versus Paul Orndorff and Roddy Piper against Hulk Hogan and King Kong Bundy. Then we have...
I have the paper right here. You want me to just...
Yeah, because it's hard for me a little bit to see. Sorry, I know the graphic isn't as great as what it could be.
Okay, so
we're trying this out.
Mania 3, Hogan versus Andre versus 4, Savage DiBiase, which is that tournament.
For the world, WWF title.
Then the Mega Powers explodes at WrestleMania 5, Hulk versus Randy versus Mania 6, which is, the ultimate challenge with Warrior versus Hogan. Then 7, Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter versus another banger, Hogan versus Sid Justice.
Yeah. Oh, who could forget that?
You did.
True. That is.
Then the other side is WrestleMania 17 versus Austin versus Rock. 18 is Triple H versus Jericho. Then 19 is Brock and Kurt Angle. Verse number 20, which is the triple threat, Benoit versus Triple H versus Shawn Michaels. Then WrestleMania 21 with Batista Triple H versus WrestleMania 22, John Cena versus Triple H. And then you have WrestleMania 23, which is Cena versus HBK, versus WrestleMania 24, which is Taker versus Edge.
So you can see a lot of overlap with main eventers year over year, kind of going through. And that gave me a little bit of fits because I've said it here before, how much I love Shawn Michaels, and being able to kind of put him in his matches and try and rank them. You know, do I like Shawn Michaels? Well, you'll see in the lower bracket, do I like Shawn Michaels, Austin over Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart? Was something that was kind of difficult, and a lot of the Hulk Hogan stuff. The real tough one for me, I think, was Hogan and Warrior, because I remembered that so much going into the brackets, and being able to kind of really like Hogan Slaughter, that whole America dynamic, the whole fight. I remember that as a kid being
like milk.
But I remembered that as a kid. That's what made me, the whole patriotic and patriotism angle. Like, so that was a little bit of a tough first round kind of grade and bracket for me on that front. Was there anyone's, at least in the top half of this, that kind of struck you as tough decisions?
No. Honestly, no. Our left side, our golden era, again, don't like Hulk Hogan. So this was like easy but hard, and like I kind of like, I think Randy and DiBiase for me went harder because it was like kind of like the first Mania match that was actually more technical. I feel like there wasn't as much like oomph and whatever in the main event because they both wrestled like 2 to 3. I think DiBiase was 2 matches, Randy was 3 matches, or was it 4 and 3?
I just remember the chair shot. I remember the Hogan chair shot.
Again, no, because I love Savage a lot, and he won the belt because Hogan came out. It was like, and he hit the chair, and that's how I was just like, ugh. So again, I think that match went farther for me. But again, I think the Mega Powers exploding was such a huge event. And then long storytelling back then and how it all panned out. And like that won the golden era for me because I think it's more iconic.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Like if we were actually seeding these, that seed in this would probably be a 5, 6 perfect.
Threw me off because we did 1, 2, 3, 4. So we get like kind of the later areas. I was like, oh my god, I would have pushed this farther or that farther. But no, I have to go freaking what's better, Hulk Hogan versus Slaughter or Hogan versus Sid? It's just like, ugh, they're both awful.
Yeah, it's interesting. Ed, we got our first comment. Ed's chiming in. Hogan's chair shots are dead. They are the most epic chair shots that you will ever see.
Hi, Ed.
We had. I remember back in the day when we did a backyard wrestling federation with. Now he writes for WrestleView and he has his own show, Mike Tedesco. We used to do it, and we used to have this kid who used to wrestle with us, James, and he used to take chair shots literally like that, and like 20 feet to Hulk Hogan. He made Hulk Hogan look like literally he should be wrestling for ECW. So the chair, but I digress. So yeah, any others on this top of the bracket? I think. I tend to agree with you that the right side of the bracket, especially the bottom, WrestleMania's 21 through 24, seems pretty easy.
There's other ones that like I honestly like. Unfortunately I did go Shawn Cena, which I really do like the Taker Edge match. So it was just like, I'd rather knock out these crap on the left, which was stuck with better on the right. But then, do you want to say what your top is? So for this, it was Hulk Randy, and then the other side for me was, and it's so hard because it's such a good match, and it's hard, but it is name redacted Benoit Triple H versus HBK. That is such a badass triple threat match. I think it's so, like, you have your underdog, and I think the thing with triple threats, it's always like one guy's out, and the other two people do something, and then they kind of rotate. But there were so many setups and moves and sequences. There was all three of them. That, you know, like, HBK hit Triple H, and then Benoit pulled Triple H out so he didn't get pinned. And then HBK is going to tap to Benoit, and then Triple H grabbed his hand. Like, there was so much, like, interplay, and then it was such a good story to me. And it's so hard to separate, to talk about a Benoit match and not have to, you know, I know how gross of a human being and what he did is very disgusting to me. So it's hard, but it's to take that out of it just to watch that match in a bubble. It's a great fucking match.
I don't disagree.
So that is my two that went into it, and then Hulk versus Randy versus the triple threat. The triple threat moved on.
See, for me, the sheer, and I know now, maybe name redacted, who knows?
Also, another question.
But the Lesnar Angle match was just phenomenal. I mean, if he had, and I think if he had actually hit the shooting star in that match, I think you could have argued it could have been in my final four for sure.
And I think, unfortunately, some people just know that match because of the botch, but it was very much it was very technical. It was very, I don't want to say catch as catch can, because I don't think that's the right thing, but very, like, because they were both, you know, like, amateur wrestlers. It was very much of that ilk, and then kind of moved on to, like, the bigger spots, more WWE pro wrestling spots.
Yeah, that was why I couldn't get them out of that bracket. For me, the two that made it to the end, you have Stone Cold and The Rock, one of the greatest feuds in the history of WWF, whatever. And that's where clearly they made it through every round. Every match I put them up against in this top bracket. Sorry.
So the turn doesn't ruin that match for you a little bit?
Nah, because it's WrestleMania. It's WrestleMania. You're gonna get some wild finishes.
That killed a whole era of wrestling.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still there.
No, it's a very
the history and what they do.
I think it's a great match. If we did the bracket differently, but it's high on my rank too.
But for me, in this whole bracket, getting through, and it was tough because you have the golden era matches and all the Hogan, Savage, and my affinity for Ultimate Warrior, say what you will. Because I remembered that match even though it wasn't the greatest. And to the same extent, the Andre the Giant match is not a great match, but I have Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, WrestleMania 3 being my winner out of this whole top bracket. Because of the sheer reason that I felt like, yeah, WrestleMania 1, the whole Mr. T thing, you could say technically was the first WrestleMania, but the Hogan slamming Andre is what I felt like put WrestleMania wrestling on the map to a whole other level. And that moment, and yeah, was the match great? It was an old school match he did a bear hug for like 10 minutes in the match. I get it. But just the build up, and it's a time where, again, you could do a bear hug for 10 minutes because a body slam was a big move, and a body slam of that nature to a guy like that. Hogan's finishing move was a leg drop. How many people didn't do top rope moves or anything like that back then? So I think it just kicked off a whole new renaissance. You started off and they were building up some sort of brand in WrestleMania the first couple of years, and that just a whole other level, right? What was it? Was he always say like 90,000 people were in that scene, and then he slammed
some fake number.
It changes. It changes every time.
He wrestled over 370 whatever days, so who knows?
So let's go back to now the bottom bracket.
Do you want me to read this then? Again, I know you're not here for me to read, but I'll do this quickly. So WrestleMania 9, Hogan. Nick put down Hogan Yokozuna, which again, that's what it was.
It's a last match.
It was, but technically it was Bret Yokozuna. Bret got salt in his eyes and then didn't know how to kick out of anything. And then Hogan comes down to save him. And then Mr. Fuji challenges. The two of them wrestle. He wins with a gross eyeball and never dropped the belt back to Bret because that doesn't work for him, brother. Then the next year, WrestleMania 10 is Bret Yoko. And then WrestleMania 11, Lawrence Taylor versus Bam Bam, which has a special place in my heart.
Hold on.
What?
Steven, not a scheduled match. That shouldn't count. You know what, Steven? That's it. You're the first one to be banished. Bailey is on to your scheme, Steven.
I said the same
when you make
thing,
comments like that,
I said the same thing.
Bailey is judging you. It is a main event. It was the last match. Don't piss off Bailey.
Lord,
and we're back.
All right, so then WrestleMania 12, HBK Brett verse 13, which is The Undertaker, Psycho Sid. Again, gem. And then you have Austin versus Shawn Michaels. And then 15 verse 16, which is Steve Austin, The Rock 1, versus that lovely McMahon in every corner, Triple H, Big Show, Foley, Rock. And then on the other side, you got 25 versus 26, which is Triple H versus Orton. And then 26 is Taker Shawn. Then 27 versus 28, which is The Miz versus John Cena. I can't not laugh. And then you have Rock Cena. Then 28 versus 30, which is Rock Cena twice in a lifetime. Versus the triple threat, which is D-Bry, Batista, Randy, versus 31 versus 32, which again, Nick has as Seth versus Brock.
Cashing in because they're the last match.
But it's Brock, the main... And 32, which is everyone's favorite match, Roman versus Triple H.
So
I feel like the left side, I think this was like my prime watching. Well, not, but like, I guess young me watching. And this didn't go forward to me, but I remember watching Lawrence Taylor versus Bam Bam with my dad in the house in Avenel, and my dad loved Lawrence Taylor. And for some reason, it's a terrible, like, it's and by the time, like, him, like, LT being maybe the first celebrity to actually have a match, and for them to trust Bam Bam, and it's kind of like this New York, New Jersey thing.
Mr. T, what does that count as?
Oh, I guess it is, but, like, it wasn't a singles match.
No, but yeah.
It's not a great match, but I just wanted to give a little love to that match. I think what I had an issue was...
I just remember all the football players coming out. Ken Norton Jr., there's like a bunch of Cowboys.
Oh, jeez, Mary Joseph.
This is what happens when you get a microphone.
Like Mongo was out there. I don't know.
Yeah, there was a lot of guys.
Then also, this was like heart versus head, because when it came down to me was HBK Austin, and then Austin versus Rock. And I said to you last night, because I try to go back and like rewatch a lot of these main events. I think Austin Rock is the better match, but I think HBK Austin means, I think more, to maybe Lore or more to me, but I actually put that through that bracket space. And then it was Brett HBK versus HBK Austin, and obviously HBK Austin wins.
So for me, what really made this tough is with these brackets. Again, LT, it was a fun crossover moment, easy for me, because that Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels was going all the way to the final four for me, because that Iron Man match was phenomenal. To have one pin, I know Nikki's sighing because she thinks it's overrated, but she's wrong.
I know. I remember the first time I told you it was overrated, and you called me a dirty mark.
Yeah, you are. So easily, that would have been, if we're talking about like complete like number one seed. I'm just gonna use, well, it's been a long time, but like UConn women's basketball just blowing out the doors off of, as much as I love my old alma mater, FDU. Like that's kind of what it was to me. That was a easy move along. The real tough decision was the Elite Eight for me, which is when you have Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart against Steve Austin versus Shawn Michaels. That in that WrestleMania 14. To me, the build up to it, the whole, which is, we talked about it in the past, like eerily similar to the build up to this WrestleMania, I feel like, just in the fact that like Tyson was in DX and the Rock's in the Bloodline, and I feel like there's a turn happening. That was so tough for me because, again, I knew Shawn Michaels was going to be in somewhere. Mr. WrestleMania was going to be somewhere in my Final Four, potentially as my champion. This match was really, really tough because you have two great wrestling matches, two great endings in completely different fashions. So, but ultimately, I went down to just the wrestling and just the pure, like, to keep me as a fan engaged for a full hour Iron Man match. That's what ultimately, at least out of the left side of this bracket, had to come out. What about you for your right side?
I think this was the easiest side for me. I think Taker Shawn, obviously. Then you have Miz Cena versus Rock Cena. I had to go Rock Cena. And then again, the triple threat at Mania 30. WrestleMania, D-Bry, Batista, Randy, that wins. And then again, Roman Triple H was such a bad match. It's going to, Brock, Roman, and then Seth won it. But I don't think that was necessarily a bad match. I think it's one of the better ones that Roman, like their whatever WrestleMania 30, was that 33, 34? Whenever they had, no, I said 3 years later. So 34, I believe. Again, correct me down below. But that match was awful. Like everyone booed and everyone hated everybody in that match.
So, well, what's interesting, and don't blame me for the bad graphics. Blame WWE's booking because there's so many triple threat matches on the right side of this that I couldn't fit it. So I blame them.
Yeah. So then my final on that side is Taker Shawn versus the triple threat. Which again, I love the triple threat. Loved Daniel Bryan. Brian Danielson, whatever you want to call him. I think it was a fun little match. But Taker Shawn.
This is where a fun part of the show where we get to agree.
We don't agree.
Well, on the right side of the bracket, Taker Shawn, just to me, it's interesting actually. No, they ended up being the number 2 seed. Well, it would have, I guess, the 2 seed in theory in this bracket, but yeah, I know. I'm just the sport fanatic in me loves that. Who doesn't love a good tournament? Tony Khan does. So
yes.
Anyway, regardless. So Undertaker HBK again. Just always banger of matches with HBK, no matter what. So to me, it was easy to kind of pick through the right side, especially with all the triple threat matches. Like I get it, even in the other ones, like the Benoit ones, and even the Daniel Bryan one was good. I liked it, but it wasn't as memorable as the singles matches were for me. So it ended up getting down to HBK and Undertaker on the right side of my bracket here. And then we have HBK and Bret Hart. So for me, it was kind of a win-win with Shawn Michaels, and maybe I tipped my hand a little bit. So ultimately, in this bracket, the way things played out, my final 4 ended up being HBK versus Bret Hart, HBK versus The Undertaker, and then we look at the top, which is Hulk Hogan versus Andre, and Steve Austin versus The Rock. So, Nikki, what did your final 4?
Yeah, I'm gonna figure out. Okay, so final 4 would have been Hulk Randy, the triple threat between Redacted and Triple H HBK, Taker HBK, and HBK Austin. So clearly, I love my HBK. He's in 3 out of my 4 final 4.
You only got into 2 of mine, so I didn't go
so then
bad.
my final 2 would have been name redacted Triple H HBK triple threat versus Taker Shawn. It goes for me Taker Shawn best WrestleMania match.
So her national.
Can I read my notes on it just because I took a crap ton of notes. But again, it was this is their second one. They fought the year before, but then were pissed off that they weren't the main event, and then Vince was only giving them a short amount of time, and they begged for a longer time, and then did their bar burner. So this time they were going to main event. He wanted HBK wanted the rematch. Taker said no. So then HBK tried to win the Royal Rumble, eliminated Triple H, and then was eliminated by Batista. So he's like, all right, well, I'm not going to win this way. Then I'm going to cost you your belt. So then that's when Taker agreed to have the match, but the one condition was it was Streak for his career. And then HBK never wrestled again. But it was instant, and a lot of it was hard hitting. Everyone was bleeding everywhere
In the United States.
And I know that was a little.
No.
But Triple H. Undertaker was like, stay down, and then he was like, ah, and then he hit the final tombstone to pin him. And I don't know. Go back and watch it. I'm sure you'll all watch it. I've watched that match a million times, but that is my number one of WrestleMania. Is
So before I reveal mine, let's get to a couple comments here.
oh, we have comments.
So yeah, we do have
They
some
don't
fun
pop
comments.
up on my screen.
They pop on my mind.
I literally don't know when anyone's commenting.
So Steven's writing in, they should have followed up LT versus Dyson in a ladder match. It had to have been a ladder match.
Oh Lord.
I don't know. So Ed's point was the 11 main event was good for what it is. Agreed.
Yeah, well, for sure. Again, like
he hit him with a fist and that Jerry Lawler used for the next 20 years as his finisher. So
it was off the second turnbuckle.
You could argue he was a pioneer.
My dad loved that match, and it has a special place for me.
So for me, it was tough. My final two after my final four ended up being Bret Hart, HBK versus Andre Hogan. And ultimately, I had to just go back to the nostalgia of Andre Hogan and Hogan slamming Andre as the greatest main event to put everything on the map. As much as I was torn because great wrestling match versus just entertaining match that just set things into a whole superstardom era for Hogan and WWE. So that's who our champions are. Now our question is, we're going to pose that out. I'll try and put up some of the brackets so you can see what you can. We want to know, so in this bracket, who would you have as your final four? Who would you have as your national champion? So there's obviously two. We can only put up one screen at one time. So pick two from here, and we'll leave it up for a minute or so, and then we'll go to the next round as we read through some of these comments. Let's see. Ed, it's a crime neither Taker or versus Shawn matches are melted 5 stars. I don't think he gives out stars usually, unless you're like Okada or Ospreay.
I'm pretty sure between the Hulk Andre match, he gave it like a -4 stars, I believe, initially, and then like later, like said he shouldn't have given it that much.
Well, you're looking at it in a whole different era.
I know, but like how long? Like again, I don't put much stock into Meltzer ratings.
Right. So we have this bracket. Oh, this is 9 through. Whoops. Here we go. Here's 1 through.
We get in your brains 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then to 32.
Yeah. So I want to hear from you all. So again, thought it was a fun little concept to put them, and I actually liked it better this way because it kind of randomized it to where, well, not really randomized it, but where you have to put everything competing in its own era, similar to like, the NCAA does. You have your own region, the Atlantic region, the Pacific region, whatever. So it makes it a little hard when you're like, what did I like the most about the first 8 WrestleManias? What do I remember? And honestly, it's weird because, not much, but the match that didn't make it too far and didn't make it to the end was Hogan Warrior, which is probably what I remember out of the first 8 WrestleManias. The most is just them exchanging the belts and like not knowing who to root for. And I was rooting for Hogan so hard on that too. And I was like, whatever. And then Warrior won, and Hogan was kind of Intercontinental Champion, I guess.
What?
Well, remember they exchanged the belts at the end? Yeah, they exchanged the belts.
I thought he's on the turnbuckle with both of them.
He wasn't, and I felt like they exchanged the belts. Am I remembering this wrong?
Someone
fact check me. I can swear they exchanged belts at the end for a hot minute.
Charlotte? No, he stood on like a Daniel Bryan with both belts.
Someone's fact checking me.
This needs a Google. Guys, tell Nick he's wrong, please.
Fact check me. Oh, I'm gonna watch this video so hard. But yeah, so again, this is the second half of the bracket. Write in the chat. Let us know in the comments below what your final four would be. What is your best? The first 32 WrestleManias. What is the best main event that we have listed here? Again, the last match what did you remember the most? What would you put? And could you say that absolutely would get through? And what would be in your final four? We want to hear.
Right down below that Nick is wrong.
Well, that's not going to happen. Great. Now we're not getting any comments. So anyway, moving on. So we're trying to get into
the new.
The last week. It has been a week of wrestling. There's been a lot that's gone on.
It's my other news.
It's been a pretty fun week of wrestling.
It's been a fun week, and I think that honestly, SmackDown, Raw, and the past two Dynamites have been really strong.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about. Again, it's WrestleMania season, so rising tides raise all ships. They're going to get great booking, I think, on both sides. Tony Khan's going to try and counter, and I think Impact is going to still do, a lot of. Okay, Ed fact checked me. Warrior held both belts at the end of 6. Yes, he held them up, but I could have swore he. No, I could have swore he changed them. I don't know. Anyway,
you're right. You lose.
Right, Ed, you earned a. I don't know. Gummy. But
moving on.
Anyway, so it's been a crazy week of wrestling, but it's been good, and I think everyone, like I said, everyone's stepping up their game. You're starting to see, even Impact. Everyone's stepping up their game because they know that this is the time to get more eyeballs on the product, on your product. Mm-hmm. So this week we saw, at least with the two major promotions, AEW and WWE, we saw two main events that were really good, phenomenal matches. Very similar in like no disqualification rules and things like that. On Raw, Becky Lynch, just to kind of give you people on the curtain here, or just tell you really, Nia Jax and Becky Lynch had a last woman standing match on Raw to close out Raw. On Dynamite, we saw, and I was about to call him Edge, but I'll do Adam Copeland.
It's Cope versus Cage 3 for the belt. And they had a I Quit match.
So, yes, Cope versus Cage in an I Quit match. Two crazy bangers of matches. Sorry, I'm going to go through a little bit here.
We rearranged how
Some
we were going to talk about things. Literally 10 minutes before we were like, oh, shit, we have to go live.
So we got to run through some of these.
We're doing it live.
But seemingly ending the Nia Jax Becky Lynch feud, and both feuds in theory could potentially be ended. So I posed this question out to the audience here: is what was the better match? Both matches were phenomenal. Becky Lynch, spoiler alert, came out on top in the last woman standing match with a leg drop off the top rope.
No, off
the ladder. I want to say ladder.
Nia through the announce table.
Great. Thank you for saying that before I finish my statement.
And I have a page of notes.
I know, I was getting the pictures, trying to do it. So
homework.
This happens when you drive and talk. I don't know how I multitask in my own life. But Becky Lynch put Nia through table on a leg drop off the ladder. But it was pretty vicious, actually, when you run it back, which I guess is ironic given how stiff the rumors are with Nia Jax, and we've seen over the years. So I guess she kind of is okay with it, or it's a receipt for whatever. Maybe the broken nose in the past, but no, it's not necessarily. But it was a pretty stiff because she landed pretty rough on the top of her neck and the back of her head. So regardless, ends up on top, looking strong. Then we move over to AEW. Okay, sorry.
I want to go.
She wants to get her point.
Notes. No, I'm just like I literally couldn't not compare, but wrote down the major spots, and like that's how we're gonna debate which match was better if we talk about what actually happened in each match. So started one of the major.
I'll just drink.
Yeah, you drink over there. Mommy's gonna work. So Nia did the Samoan drop onto Becky through a bunch of chairs. You had kendo stick spots. You had a fire extinguisher spot, which I'm surprised you didn't mention because this looked awfully gnarly. I think it was Nia had set, you can see in Nick's picture that the broken table. I believe Nia set it up and she was trying to do something or get something over, and then Becky just hit her with the manhandle slap through the table, and that looked vicious. And then
it was really well done too. They timed it nicely.
Yeah, no,
they did it really well.
It looked great. It looked gnarly. It looked good. And at the one point, I wrote bonsai drop. I know she calls it the Annihilator, but it's a bonsai drop. So she hit the bonsai drop, and then Becky just rolled out of the ring, and then basically was on her feet, so she beat the count. Which I think is interesting because in Elimination Chamber, Rhea kicked out of that move, and then Becky had to roll out to stay on her feet for that. So I think that will be I think that's something to bring up, that they're fighting each other for Mania. Rhea kicked out of that move. You had to roll out and stand on your feet. I don't know if that's going to come into play or not, but I wrote that. Rhea kicked out. Becky had to roll out. However you want to.
Well, I don't. If I can chime in here,
please.
The one thing, and I might be getting ahead of myself, but the one thing that drives me nuts is that I just feel like I get the momentum that Becky's getting and growing, which will ultimately, if she falls to Rhea, look good. But it also, how much of it is the psychology of well, you're beat up from all this.
Said, I don't know if it was last week or this week, but it's why are you taking on all these? Maybe it was last week when she was fighting John's girl Liv Morgan. That why are you taking all these matches on? But so she did the leg drop off the top of the ladder. Nia couldn't beat the count, so Becky wins, and then Rhea comes out. They do the whole I got the belt and jaw jacking in the middle of the ring.
Okay, no,
I can go into my notes for Cage versus Cope if you'd like.
So then again on moving into Wednesday night or Wednesday evening, supposedly the blow off of the feud, Christian Cage and Adam Copeland, which I think is
Cage Cope.
Stupid, but whatever. Regardless, I'm still calling him Edge. Very good match overall. What I loved is, the ex-hockey player in me really liked the whole hockey element. I guess they wanted to, and I understand, hometown guys, Canadian guys, they wanted to do it in Canada to get a bigger response. I love this spot. I thought it was pretty neat, just to kind of, and I don't know if, I guess I forget where they were at. They were in Toronto, I guess, where the Maple Leafs play. But
because they were actually brawling in the penalty box.
Yeah, and well, that's what I don't know if they keep that up, and if they actually keep the boards up and everything else. Normally, when they do shows, for instance, I was about to call it Continental Airlines, Prudential Center, where we're going tomorrow night. At Prudential, they'll move stuff back. For AEW shows, they put chairs in those areas. You don't see the Devils benches there. That's all removed. So I wonder if that was, bless you, if that was something that was there, planned, or they left it up. They said, "Oh, just leave it out, and we'll work around it," or just kind of an environmental thing. But it was kind of neat. They both put on the jerseys and had an old school hockey fight. A nice little spot, especially considering literally this spot of just the punches back and forth like this is so overdone in AEW that this was a nice, different take on it. Exactly, as Jacqueline snores away.
You just called him Jacqueline.
No, it's Jackson, not Jacqueline.
But let me know in the comments down below. What did Nicole, our dog?
But I just thought it was a nice spot again for them to kind of move along. And again, just a lot of craziness throughout. The whole patriarchy Christian stable basically interfered in the match. And then ultimately, Edge with
Adam Copes with Spike.
I'm calling him Edge. He's Edge.
Do you want? I can go through my notes.
Yes, we'll let Nikki finish this up and fact check me.
So I wrote Cage vs. Cope 3 for the TNT title belt battle. Again, it's a hockey brawl. Technically, it looked like, I'm assuming, a plan. Edge ripped the Bruins jersey off some dude and put it on Cage, and then he took the Maple Leaf jersey and put it on himself. And I asked Nick, because I really know nothing about hockey. Are they rivals or something? I don't know.
I don't know if they. I haven't followed. I don't know if they faced each other in the NHL Stanley Cup Finals.
I don't know if that's a thing, but maybe it is. But then during the commercial break, when they were in picture,
No, it's Eastern Conference Finals, so they're both from the East, because Toronto's in the East and Boston from the East. So they're probably, I haven't followed hockey, NHL
I
hockey
just think
as much
there
as
had to be some reason for them to pick a Bruins. I literally don't think he ripped a shirt off a man. I'm pretty sure he was a plant. So I just assumed
No, that was a legit fan. He came out later and was really upset.
Mark. During the commercial break, Christian Cage tried to go into went into the ladies' rooms to get away from Cope, which I thought was fun. They did this fun high spot move, and Cage was jumping off a top turnbuckle to jump down onto Copeland, and then he kind of speared him, so they kind of sort of collided, speared each other at the same time, which I thought was super fun. At one point, Copeland brings out a net and throws Cage into the net, so I guess he scored a point there. And again, like Nick said, the patriarchy, down with the patriarchy. Mother Wayne came out and then hit him with the low blowed him with the hockey stick, and again, Cage hit him with the hockey stick,
and he ends up strangling him later with the putting it on him, and he actually, which was really interesting. So there's a spot in here I thought it didn't necessarily make sense to me, because I get it's an I Quit match, but Edge legit passes out in that they stop because he passes out because he's choking him out. And when I was watching, I thought that was kind of like the ref's well, he didn't say I quit, but he might be dead. Okay.
Oh, right. But then barbed wire chair was brought out, and then Nick Wayne and Kill Switch, Luchasaurus, whatever you want to call him, they came running down.
Lucha Switch.
Okay.
That's it. Or is he Killsaurus?
Killsaurus? I like Killsaurus, but that sounds like a heavy metal band. Killsaurus. But they came out, try to interfere, and then Matt Menard, he's Daddy Magic Matt? No. Yeah, it was Daddy Magic, because Cool Hand Luke.
He really is a reincarnated version of Jerry Sags from...
No, I love him, and you just compared him to Jerry Sags, and now I'm like,
that is ruined. Forever unclean.
So they come out, try to even the score. He hits, Copeland hits a DDT on Kill Switch on the barbed wire chair. Then handcuffs come out, and then everyone gets handcuffed. You can see Cage is in the one corner, and Wayne's in the other corner, and Killsaurus is in the other one. And then Edge brings out Spike.
You can see,
which they called, and then Magic Menard at the bottom. They called it a 2x4 with barbed wire, but it kind of looked like you frat boys with your paddles, because it had such a handle on it.
Yeah.
So to me, it was more of a barbed wire paddle. They called it a 2x4, but whatever. So basically, he beats the ever-living love out of his man bits. He doesn't quit, so then he's gonna go hit him in the head, and since he's not protective, then Christian Cage says, I quit. So he's forced to be all right, I'm beat the crap out of your man bits. You don't quit. I'm gonna go actually hit you in the face, and then you quit.
Yeah, I guess I understand the face part of it. I don't know.
I couldn't. This is Nakamura, AJ alone. There's a lot of man bit parts smacking, and I don't know because of YouTube how much we can say stuff, but basically then Edge wins. Sorry, shit.
Yeah, woo.
Adam Copeland.
His name's Adam Copeland. That's what he goes by.
Copeland.
If I can
His name is
correct
Adam
you.
Copeland. His name is Adam Copeland. But basically, he flips off Christian, and then he holds up the TNT belt, and then Matt Menard, and maybe I'm forgetting. I know. Why is it? No, Sugar.
Brian Knobs.
No.
It's Brian Knobs.
Why is his name? Ed. Comment. Steven.
Oh, wait. Comments are coming in.
It's
Garcia? Daniel Garcia. Ed with the fact check coming in.
And I was just he dances. And honestly, I think I hope the next feud, or I hope eventually Copeland will drop the belt to Garcia. Because Garcia and Christian Cage had that really fun match.
Ed made a comment. It's definitely not Janice. It's correct me. Is Janice Abyss in Impact? Is that what you're referring to? Because I'm 90% certain it was Abyss's. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, because Floyd was Floyd's the bat.
Yeah, Floyd's a bat. But yeah, which I always thought this weapon was so stupid. I'm sorry. I know we suspend our disbelief, but you're not hitting someone in the face with a bunch of nails on a 2x4. Even when same thing with when Triple H did it, Mick Foley did it as Cactus Jack, the bar, some of that stuff. I know you're not it just drives me crazy. This weapon is so ridiculous to me. The face even when he brought it out, I'm like, oh, this is what we're doing.
I don't know, but to kind of bring back around, I liked both matches. I thought they were both very fun. I honestly, it was Coke Cage 3. I think maybe Nia Becky 3. Legit matches.
Probably.
It feels like a culmination of a storyline, of a rivalry. This is ending, and Becky's gonna go get Rhea for the belt, and then I think Edge will move on. I would love Edge to Copeland to do.
That's twice.
I know.
She wants to call him Edge too. This is what's going on right now. She is just the Freudian slips are coming out. He's Edge.
I wore my Adam Copeland shirt last night to bed. I should have worn it now. But I want Adam Copeland to go on and maybe do a kind of a Cena Open Challenge thing and fight the young guys. And I know he was kind of doing that before, but I think it'd be fun. Fight Garcia. I like Sean Dean. These young kids that are kind of lower mid card people.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the reason that you sign a guy like this.
I would love to see more of it. You're done with Christian. I think he had a great run. I think the Patriarchy was a lot of fun. I think Mother Wayne got a little weird, but to each their own.
That whole thing is very weird.
But I would like to see him move on and do something different. I think Christian can go. I think he had a great run. He can go away for a little bit. I don't want to see on Wednesday Luchasaurus Killswitch come out and be like, oh, and we'll growl at him or whatever. But I don't know. I think I don't necessarily, again, because I don't want to be compare or tribalism, and I like both matches. I think both Raw was really good. I think AEW was really good, even though my Eddie lost. I think they were both fun shows.
I just hope they all had fun. I just hope they all had a good time and really got the most out of it.
It's hard because sometimes it's watching everything we do, 3 hours of Raw, this 2 hours. Again, I watched all 3 hours of AEW this week because it rolled into Rampage because of the brackets, basketball. So I just kind of was you were asleep, and I was just well, I'm up. I might as well just watch this. Because actually the last few minutes of the Cage Cope match played into Rampage because they kind of went black for a second. Came up, it was we're on Rampage. So I'm assuming that's why they kind of also made that match long. Because because kind of what I did. I was I want to see the end of the match. And next thing I know, it's Rampage. I was well, I'm here now. Might as well stay.
Yeah, that's what it drives me crazy about. We went to the AEW show. Well, you and I have been to a couple of AEW shows, but the last one I went, unfortunately, Stag without you. Well, I had a couple friends that went with, but regardless, they do that taping where you do Ring of Honor before and then or after, and it's
both. The one we went to Prudential Center over the summer. It was July because we high five CM Punk. Yeah,
well, not that, but the one after that we just went, and just. For me, it was just after 2 hours of seeing Dynamite, which is their premiere show, you can't give me something after. And same thing with WWE, the house shows, unless you're telling me that the main event is a main event guy like an AJ Styles or, well, back in the day, a John Cena, who's just coming out to do a promo earlier in the night and then doing a dark match later. Okay, I'll stay for the house show 10 o'clock part of it. But I don't know, going for another show, whether it's Ring of Honor, oh my God, Rampage, any of that. To me, it doesn't matter. You're going to see lesser guys on the next show. So what, it's same thing. I view wrestling in a lot of ways very similarly to going to a concert. It's you go, you see the opener. It's like literally putting the opener on after seeing AC/DC or Dave Matthews Band or whoever. It's well, why do I want to go see, whoever the opening acoustic act is again? I'm no, I'm good. I'm going home. Like,
But I don't know. I think both matches were fun. So I don't know. I think wrestling fans are the winner this week. For me.
well, for me, I think Raw fans are the winner because Becky Lynch, Nia Jax, and I know that Nikki's just hatred, pure hatred for Nia Jax showed up here because she didn't want to admit it. She didn't want to admit it, but it was right. Nia Jax is putting on the best show of her career right now. She is just leveling up.
Maybe it's, well, let's not go too crazy. I think maybe is this her best run of her career? Yes. Is that saying a lot? No. And I'm sorry, and I know you're not, and you and I are not like most girls. But she does nothing for me.
Ed wants you to know that she is not like
I know. She's not like.
And I was saving that for when
doesn't even use that song
the
anymore.
optimal moment, and we found the optimal moment.
She doesn't even use that song anymore.
No, I'm really sorry. I'm trying to catch up on some of the comments.
Are we really? Again, I don't.
And Ed's talking about Nick Gage and the pizza cutter, but I'm not sure which statement that was. So I might have been a little behind when we're.
Is that what I was talking about in picture? Because that's when it. I just watched that Dark Side of the Ring the other day. But he does the pizza cutter spot to Jericho, and the picture is like with the Pizza Hut. Was it Domino's or Pizza Hut?
Yeah, the Pizza Hut. It's great.
And he's like cutting out because they were telling he done it. So John Moxley talked about it, David Arquette talked about it, and then he did it to Jericho. He slices your forehead and then slices the inside of your mouth with the pizza cutter, and it's so disgusting.
I'm telling you right.
Forehead fine. Don't touch like my mouth.
Say what you will, but I would argue that even though maybe they deleted this much, I still think that's somewhat of a work. Like you couldn't tell me they weren't like yeah, it's a screw up, but I feel like it was almost all too perfect, perfect to screw up.
I was gonna say maybe just sometimes perfect things align. I don't know.
Just a perfect storm of like, oh god. Well, so this is a good segue because speaking about like maybe, well, I guess politically incorrect. I don't know if that's necessarily politically incorrect, but it's just what's the word? Not crude. What's that?
I don't know where you're trying to go to, so I can't steer you.
But talking about just like awkward situations and scenarios, disturbing footage, maybe that's what we're talking about, and statements. Kind of going back to Raw, so I'm going to make this a segue into Raw's Seth Rollins Drew McIntyre promo, and we don't have any graphics for this. So on Raw, Seth Rollins came out around 9 o'clock hour, 10 o'clock hour, and the whole promo build up has been, and I think we all as fans, at least I see it coming of like who's got their eye on the prize, and Drew McIntyre is 100% focused. Which, by the way, if you didn't get a chance to, on Twitter today, Drew McIntyre,
river.
Yeah, so I will start with this. I'm not a Drew McIntyre fan, but I'm starting to turn on him because of the way that this last couple of months have been. He has just played this up so perfectly, this whole CM Punk angle about, and just like, you can't plan out the injury that happened, but the fact that like his character, as soon as kayfabe happened, like as soon as Punk showed up, was pissed. Him and Rollins were both pissed that, that happened. So this whole like angle, he's been doing a phenomenal job. So he came out either this morning or yesterday with a video of just him working out, and he's built like anything, like a brick house, and he's just benching everything, and he turns on Cry Me a River in the background. Just the way that he trolls, he's been trolling everybody on whether it's social media and social media, just with everything with YouTube, all these clips. It's been great. He is really taking it to a whole nother level. But my original point was just talking about the awkwardness of the promos between him and Seth Rollins. And Seth Rollins kind of came out on Raw, and he basically opened up with, "My name is Seth Rollins, and I am with the Attention Junkie? Spotlight Junkie. Excuse me." And it was like a very serious, kind of like tongue-in-cheek, I get it. But given the nature of WWE and everything else, just like
I think
very poor taste-ish.
Yeah, so I think it's twofold. Again, I think I can say this. I think my brother is a recovering alcoholic. I've been to AA meetings with him, and that's what you do. If you do AA or NA, you say like, "Hi, my name is blah blah blah, and I'm a blah blah blah," and they say that's how you kind of go through the motions to admit something. So then when him saying it and then kind of like pretending to tear up me, and that's just me because I'm close to that situation, I was like, oh, this feels a little bit icky. Like, I necessarily didn't like that. And I think I rewatched the promo again before he went on, and I like how we got away from that, and he kind of like turned it on true, but he's like, you're also a spotlight monkey, and blah, 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 blah. Junkie monkey, that funky monkey. So I think it started off a little cringe, and then I think the promo got better, because he's like, oh, I deserve it, I earned it, blah, 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 and he's like, oh, well, you dropped the ball. He's like, you won in an empty warehouse, and then when people came back, he's like, you dropped the ball, and this is where you are. And he's like, when light shine the brightest, like I shine, baby. So like I think the promo turned around, but I just like the ending. He's like, hi, I'm Seth, and I'm a spotlight junkie, and I was like, ugh. But again, for people that don't even know what that means and is that a thing, like I don't.
Yeah, it's not. Especially for the amount of younger viewers that watch it, the product's not the greatest look. Yeah, I liked how, again, and it makes him kind of humble and whatever you want to call. Ooh, my mic there.
Flag.
But he's just like, why can't the spotlight be the focus be on the fact that both of us have worked our asses off to get to where we're at, the main event WrestleMania, and that's what makes him so, honestly, like, it's weird because in this tweener era, it makes him so endearing to the fans who are like, this is a guy who wants to win and he wants to prove he's the best. So
yeah, I think it's the thing. It's like we don't see them. I think we did, and then we didn't, and we did. But it's that heel, but the heel's not lying.
Right.
It's like you see him as the heel because you're supposed to be the bad guy, but like again, Bob Trish, where's the lie? Like. He's telling the truth of all the things that it's like, you're over here, you're worried about the bloodline, you're worried about Rock, you're worried about Roman, you're worried about Cody, but like, I'm going to take the belt off you. Like, I'm coming for your belt.
Right. It's
so
a nice.
It's super fun. And then also, kind of to bring back what you talked about with his Instagram, also, CM Punk is now, he's going to be on Monday Night Raw because they're in Chicago. He's now working out, like, I don't think he's going to show up at Mania already, or like to fight at Mania, but he's now working out without his tricep brace. And then for people who don't, I would think, I don't know. So for people that don't know, like he played Crimea River because apparently when Punk was in AEW, he had a thing with Jungle Boy that Jungle Boy wanted to do a spot with Real Glass. Mm-hmm. CM Punk shut that down because basically CM Punk was running Collision back then. And then when at the Wembley show was that August or it was technically August? It was Labor Day weekend, whatever that, or the weekend before Labor Day. He was fighting Hook, and they did a spot on a car and broke the windshield, and it was Real Glass. And then Jungle Boy looked into the camera and said Crimea River, and then that led to the backstage fight of basically why CM Punk got fired and why he's now in WWE. So I think it's like the most troll job ever of him just like working out and the Crimea River comes on. So I feel like people who are just watch WWE and for him to be like, why is Drew McIntyre like playing that song? I think it's very like insider baby baseball.
Yeah. Oh, it's an inside joke.
Because I feel like so many people, because they made the comment, was it Cody or somewhere? Or maybe it was Seth that made a comment about like a CM Punk thing or like a Cody thing that was such an AEW thing, and it didn't really get a response, and I'm so blanking on that. But sometimes they make references to AEW, and it doesn't get quite a live reaction from the crowd. So I think some people are just so WWE. So sometimes like the little insider stuff like makes me happy.
Ed's got a comment. He said he's 97 heel Bret Hart, which from what I don't remember specifics.
Like,
the only thing I remember was Bret all about like wrestling all the time, like where I'm the best wrestler. Was that if I'm remembering correctly? That's really all I remember at 97 Bret Hart. Because was that? Are you talking about? I think you're talking about DX, like the beginning, like the DX Hart Foundation feud that started like right before. Actually, was it right?
What was that?
Yeah, no, what? Yeah.
No, because he came out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, Bret, we're talking. Ed said,
I can't see
heel in America and babyface everywhere else. So yeah, no, 100%. That's what we were talking about. Yeah. So basically, yeah, that was that whole. And then the Patriot was around then, which can talk about another complete.
What I wanted to say is also in my notes.
Going off on a tangent. This is what this show's about, though. Just talking wrestling and going off on a weird tangent. Who remembers the Patriot? That guy. I think he still wrestles somewhere.
Oh, so WrestleMania 13, when he had the belter with Austin, and that's when the double turn happened. But I think technically on Raw, Brett turned a little earlier than that match. He came out, and I totally forgot about this, but doing research.
So 97 was which WrestleMania?
My homework was B13.
Let's pull this up here.
So he had that banger with Austin, the double turny, whatever. Okay. But then he came out and cut a promo before Undertaker Psycho Sid, and HBK was on commentary and basically like said Sid was a shit champion, like HBK is a piece of shit, and then was mad at the Undertaker that didn't want to be friends with him.
How could you call Sid a shit champion?
Well, because he pooped his pants.
I just remember I feel bad. Oh god, that him breaking his leg. Sorry.
Again, it's like where's the lie? And again, I'm maybe a little biased because I did not like Bret Hart back then. But I think it's, and I agree with you, the same ilk. I personally think McIntyre is doing it better, or maybe more cheeky, or maybe making more references, or I think more fun kind of spots. Again,
well, the thing is,
Insta is fun.
And here's what's neat about it is that you're talking about 1997 versus 2024, and social media is such a big influence and component to what everyone does to propel storylines to another. Like look what The Rock's doing. Half of his promos are just Instagram.
I don't have 20 minutes to talk to him.
No, I kind of skimmed through it.
I like McIntyre's little like
through the jabronis and the all that stuff, his usual spots, but it's but that's what it is. It's continuing storylines through social media, whether it's Instagram, X, Twitter, whatever it's called now, Facebook to some extent. Remember look at Dom Mysterio and Rhea Ripley. The whole Rey Mysterio stuff was all social media that propelled that whole.
Thanksgiving and showed up for Christmas, and that's when he got arrested.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Mommy."
That was fun. Well, and again, that's what Drew is trying to do now, which again, good for him. You're doing more than giving yourself more noticeability than you ever attention.
I hope that will be the SummerSlam match. Unless you really want, I don't think that's gonna go all the way back to Mania. I think Punk will win it at some point, maybe SummerSlam, maybe later, and I think he'll be the champion going into Mania and then drop it at Mania. I don't think
who, Drew or Punk?
Punk. That's my bold prediction for WrestleMania 41. Punk will go in as a champion and walk out not as a champion. You'll get your main event, baby. We didn't say you're gonna win it.
Well, I don't think he really cares about winning it.
They said he'll main one. Didn't say he'd win. Put over Braun Breaker. Someone crazy. Julius.
R-Truth.
No.
Excuse me.
They're walking out as champions too. So.
Let's get to some calls. I feel bad. Well, I think I know who this is. Who's been on the line waiting for a little bit. So, but let me get this up. What's your WrestleMania bracket? But it's an open topic. We got some people coming in and out. So if you're new here, make sure you subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Comment below. But let's get to some calls. He's going under the name this time as March Badness. So I'm pretty sure it's Steve, but what are you thinking? What are you drinking?
I'm thinking maybe I should develop an entrance theme now.
You need an entrance theme.
Yes.
Well, the fun part about that is that I wrote that.
There.
If you didn't notice all the cutouts. But yes, you do need your own theme. We need it. Maybe we'll use the old Bobby Roode, Glorious.
Glorious.
I did like that one.
Steve.
Just me yelling Steve.
I don't have a robe like that though. So.
Oh well. Christmas.
Well, you call in. You don't have to show the robe. You just gotta
Just
have the
wear it.
glorious, and it'll just be instead. It'll be what do they call that? An orchestra? No, not an orchestra. A chorus.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a chorus of people saying Steve.
I know.
So,
Next party, we're all going to record everyone saying Steve, and that'll be your entrance music.
there you go. So looking at this bracket, sponsored by Adobe Acrobat.
It is sponsored by Free. Don't wait. No, I shouldn't say that.
So what are you thinking?
You know what? It's making me remember that how many of these main events really weren't that good. I mean, some were, but it's reminding me about how, a lot of these, not all of them, but a lot of these were eclipsed by much better matches earlier on the card or elsewhere. I mean,
well, that's why, you bring up a good point. That's why we didn't have enough time to I was like, well, if I went through WrestleMania 1's best match and then WrestleMania 2, I was like, it would. But yeah, that was why I was like, all right, for simplicity purposes, let's keep it to the exact main event. And then finding an exact list of what was the main event. And to the point where, the Seth Rollins cash in and the Yokozuna Hulk Hogan match was the main event. So there's a couple ones that are quirky ones that kind of found their way in there.
Mm.
But anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
No worries. But yeah, WrestleMania 13, your main event was that the Undertaker Sid one, but what's the match everybody remembers? That was the year of Bret Austin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And to take another example, but not necessarily on the same card, you had the Cena Shawn Michaels one, but they eclipsed it themselves. I think it was a week later on Raw with that almost 1 hour match that they did.
Yeah, I believe it was an Iron Man match. I know they had an hour-long match, but I think it was dubbed an Iron Man match. But yeah, their match afterwards is better.
I don't remember that. You might be right. I don't remember that being an Iron Man match. I just remember being surprised that it was going as long as it was.
This is news
They
to
were
me.
also it was a UK. They were in the UK.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it was London or Manchester, but they were in the United Kingdom. I could have swore. I know it went an hour. I thought it was an Iron Man match, but they definitely had that hour spot. But no, I agree. Their later match was better.
Yeah.
And some people say even the Shawn Taker 1 match was better than their Mania spot match.
Well, I got to give props to I don't remember. Was it WrestleMania? Now I'm blanking on the WrestleMania because they would. But one of our listeners, Vinny Vegas, wants to write because you're talking about Shawn Razor Ramon, the ladder match, WrestleMania. Oh my God, 9 or 10?
Garden.
Yeah, it was 10.
Stephen what?
No, that was 10. That was at the Garden.
Yeah, so that match completely. What do we have here? 10 is Bret Yoko. So Bret Yoko's not
Owen Bret was a better match.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Because he fought Owen in the opener and lost, and then won the belt. And Lex Luger is a murderer.
So actually, not to make it a weird segue, Steve, definitely keep your next point, but that actually brings us into talking about Owen Bret. But now we actually do have, which I love, and just gonna say this Jimmy J feud that I am finally. I feel like the booking is Triple H is doing the right. This had to be a WrestleMania match, and all the storylines going into this, culminating of the bloodline, and maybe there's another branch or derivative that's going to come with The Rock and Roman, but the brothers finally fighting, bringing this whole, they keep calling cinematic storyline to an end of finally Jimmy and Jay are going to battle, and this is probably the first. It probably won't be just a one-off match, but yeah, just kind of bringing up the Owen Bret being a great match at that WrestleMania. I'm excited for the Usos. Just I had to get that in there.
Honestly, I think this will open night 2. I think this is an opening match.
Agreed.
Brother versus brother. I think this is opening night 2.
And everyone must have their eyeballs on.
Oh my God, that's all I talked about to Nick. I watched because you fell asleep when I watched Raw on Monday and then rewatched it with Nick on Tuesday, and I could not just stop staring at Jimmy's face.
This will
and
be a
his
meme in
eyeballs
something in
and his
some form for this show.
teeth. But again, I think it's a good story because Jay was like, he's like, you left me, come back to me, and he's like, well, you left, you went to Raw, you became tag team champions with Cody Rhodes. You're calling yourself main event. You wouldn't have any of these things unless it was me helping you leave the bloodline. I think Jay's gonna win, but I think.
But look at how focused he is on winning. Like eyes on the prize.
You remember?
Steve, have you ever been that focused on anything in your life?
I believe
it.
But anyway, I digress. I had to get that in because you made a good segue for us. But what else were you thinking about the brackets here?
I don't know about Final Four. I guess if I had to pick one limited to just these WrestleManias, I'd probably have to go with take the Taker HBK one, but it's close over the Iron Man match.
Yeah, that's what, you know, and when you're talking about great wrestling, like those, and ironically, both matches had Shawn Michaels.
Mr. WrestleMania.
Yes. And here's a not related to the bracket, but here's another story I'd like your opinions on about them letting Shayna go wrestle an indie show in Philly WrestleMania weekend against I almost said
confirmed.
It's confirmed. It's
yes.
Shayna versus Masha Slamovich.
Yep.
At Bloodsport.
Yeah,
and I want to see it. Part of me really wants us to get it and watch it. I don't know how. That's gonna be.
For some reason, I thought because Josh Barnett is the one putting that together, right? And he's also a doubles as like UFC fighter. So I thought it might have been an MMA type.
Well, as I understand it, because I'm not too familiar with GCW, but their style is more like I think I saw they mostly don't use ring ropes, and it's more closer to an MMA style of pro wrestling. But on the other hand, that's the home of Nick Gage, so.
So I believe it's under the GCW banner, but it's Josh Barnett's Bloodsport event that they've done before. Like Mox has done it. Apparently, he wanted Jessamine Duke to do it a couple of years ago, but like Vince wouldn't let her. So I'm excited they're letting Shayna do it. I think Shayna and Masha are going to beat the crap out of each other, and I think it brings her back to her. Like again, she had that bullshit match with Ronda Rousey's last match, and again, she went on a whole tirade this week. But that was like such a crap shoot work match, and I think she's gonna shine in this Bloodsport match, and I hope this leads to her getting more in WWE because I think she's a star. I think she was a star in NXT, and I think they dulled her so much on Main.
Ed's a fan of Bloodsport. Bloodsport is dope.
I'm excited for it, and I think there's rumors that there might be other WWE people. I don't know if it's been like Shayna.
I hope so. Confirmed. I mean, just like why not?
She's not doing anything at Mania, then let her bring more eyes and stuff to your thing.
Yeah, if you're not doing anything on WWE or AEW, AEW, that's where AEW has a leg up on everything. And to go back to actually to encompass this whole week, a nice little segue. Mercedes Moné, whatever you want to call it, however you want to pronounce it, like came out and was like, the only place where I could start a revolution. Sorry, I said that like kind of condescendingly, but regardless, was an AEW. And kind of to her point, yeah, you can travel the world, New Japan, Europe. Yeah, a global revolution. That's semantics, regardless. But we all know she signed for the money. No, she didn't care about a revolution. Let's be honest.
And she's already said she'll be back in the E.
Yeah, and that was a big thing. Yeah.
She's here, Joseph. Don't get started.
I know. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, to start that whole but the Forbidden Door idea, that's the only, to me. I mean, again, the creative freedom is definitely something that I'm sure a lot of the wrestlers want, and most all wrestlers wants, right? Like the character and things like that. But that's not necessarily a good thing. Like, look at, whether it's writers in WWE or wrestlers, like sometimes you need some parameters for your character and be like, like some guys go to Impact, AEW, and they start doing all these things, these crazy out there things, and they don't work for them, right? Like Toni Storm, it worked for her. She created a whole new character that now is a great character for her and moving forward, and it made her. To me, I never considered her. I know she was champion. I never considered her like a main event type talent. I know she was good, but she never had that like consistent, like, I have to see her matches, and like the character work that she's done since leaving and creating this timeless Toni Storm character made her a main event type talent to me. That's really what it is. Like, what keeps me interested in your matches?
You're proving against your own point. You're saying sometimes having some creative.
No. Don't put words in my mouth. What I'm saying is, it doesn't. There's no. There's some people. Let me just correct this. There are some people, Steve. I'm just going to mute you for a second here while I correct and define my point. There are some people that can go off. Matt Cardona, great example.
But what you
great example. No, hey, let me finish. Can I finish?
Girl.
So there are some people that can go off and recreate a character or recreate their image. But for most people, most superstars, they don't do that. And I don't feel like, and even the recreation of what they make is not great. Look, let me give you a prime example.
That's what I was waiting for.
Dana Brooke is now doing Elegance by Ash, which is, to me, the same character as Toni Storm. And I love Dana Brooke. I love the character that she's a good wrestler and can do a lot. Maybe doesn't get the attention or recognition that she deserves. But again, that character, to me, not going to work for her. I can never. Impact is just trying to do Toni Storm light and go. But most XWB guys, that's what it is to me.
That's not, okay. That's not what you originally said. You said like some people need guidance, and then mentioned Toni Storm, who's crushing it as I punch her wall. Like that, you should have said instead of Toni Storm, you should have done Elegance by Ash or whatever her name is. So I think.
No, I'm saying there's some people that can do that. Toni Storm is one that has done it and proved it. Toni Storm, Matt Cardona, but there's most people that don't, and that was just one more recent one. Anyway, I feel bad. I cut off one of our regular callers. So Steve, sorry. Finish your point. I muted you for a second because I was so rudely interrupted by someone jumping down my throat. Not going to mention any names.
I don't like it when mommy and daddy fight.
But anyway, Steve. So we were talking about the brackets. We're talking about a lot of different things. What else you got for us this week?
I got nothing else. I think that GCW show with Shayna could be very important because she's fighting an Impact wrestler, and who else has worked with Impact? Tony and all his friends on the other side. So maybe that could be a path to something that we've all wanted for many, many years and didn't get with NWA, didn't get with WCW.
Yeah, hopefully Jordan.
Because we had Jordan Grace at the Royal Rumble, so we had Jordan Grace. Now we have two other people from each company fighting each other. Maybe and we have Nick Aldis. Like maybe that's bridging more gaps.
Fun fact: Jordan Grace is someone I reached out to try and get on the show. We'll see.
Yeah.
Wishful thinking.
But I think again, like you said before, rising tide raises all ships. I think wrestling can only be better and get better if everyone works together. And let's cross promote. Let's raise each other. Let's have badass matches. And I think Shayna Masha is going to be fantastic. And I'm rooting for Shayna. I think Shayna needs a big win. I want her to bring that. I want them to be on Raw the next night and be like, Shayna bloody and being a badass. That worked for Becky. Why not work for Shayna? I like Shayna a lot. I think she deserves better than, no disrespect for Zoe, because I like Zoe Starks too, but I don't want to see her tag team. I want to see her go after, maybe that's another Rhea next feud, or can go after Bayley. or EO, whoever wins, I think is failing. But
I mean, fingers crossed, we're gonna get that super card a few years down the road.
Exactly. Well, Steve, great points as always.
yeah.
Till next time, you, sir, are cut off. We actually have some other people on the line tonight. This is fun. Fun night. Fun Friday. Like, again, the lines are open. Feel free to call in. If you haven't already, subscribe, like, comment, do all that fun stuff.
Hello. This is me. This is my phone.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Let's read a comment.
Okay, comments are good callers.
It is. But he's the next caller, so I'm going to let him just kind of say it himself. So next up, we got Ed on the line. Ed, what are you thinking? What are you drinking? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, guys. So I'm drinking a zero sugar orange Powerade. I know it's the...
Woo.
Calm down.
Hey, don't yell at me.
Settle down. We might have to cut you off already.
Hey.
Well, listen, that's the beauty of this show. You don't have to drink. You can have a non-alcoholic beverage and have a good time.
But
So,
tell us what
cheers.
you're thinking.
What am I thinking? So I guess piggybacking off of what Steve was saying. What's fun is one of the reasons I'm a big Karrion Kross guy. He absolutely killed it at one of the GCW Bloodsport shows. I forget who he wrestled, but hit some dude with Doomsday Saito and then choked him unconscious and then called out Dave Bautista.
Honestly,
the place went crazy. It was awesome.
I'm a big Karrion Kross fan, and I'm so upset about, like, I thought this AOP, whatever they call it, Final Testament, is that you agreed on? What everyone's agreeing on? No one really gives a shit what they're calling it.
Yeah, and I was gonna say the same thing with like Lashley and his guys. Like the whole storyline's just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Well, didn't
it's like 6 great wrestlers?
Yeah.
Like why is
it just doesn't work. And I don't know if it's creative. I don't know if it's the people involved, but like, so I have a friend of mine who like just got back into wrestling after like not watching for like years and years and years, but was a big Attitude Era guy and fell off somewhere in the mid 2000s. Right. Had watched the Royal Rumble this year, knew like nobody, and was like, one was completely blown away by the women's match. But then like, fast forwarding towards the end to the end with the men's Rumble, he was like, oh, like, there's your guy. And then was like, kind of like, wait, why is this big dude who looks like he should just be like tearing people in half? Why is he selling for Dominic Mysterio? Right. So I don't know if it's creative or if it's just him.
Well, to be fair, though, that's one thing that, like, to some extent I respect about AEW, or like, they really don't have squash matches. And like, and maybe
they
that's
did.
Like
if you were watching Dark and Elevation, or Dark and Dark Elevation, but
well, Dark, I mean,
I
well,
don't think that's very true.
Now they have Ring of Honor for that, so it's fine.
But like, I'm talking about like their actual, yeah, exactly. But I'm talking about the actual like televised like Dynamite.
Yeah.
Like they don't do that, and every match they don't like Dark and like that's for your younger talent. Completely understand. You're probably gonna get a lot of green talent like that, but they don't throw away time on squash matches. Do they spend time on like longer matches that probably shouldn't get that much time? Yes, but they don't throw away time on squash matches. That's one credit I will give Tony Khan, but maybe it's detrimental in some way.
Yeah. I mean, I am glad that you brought up AEW, because I was going to ask, because I know Nikki and I are both Eddie Kingston fans. How do we feel about him dropping the Continental Crunch Wrap to Okada?
I knew.
You mean the random belt that everyone likes to get? Everyone gets.
Everybody gets a belt. Everybody gets a belt, because I'm not even sure what that belt's called.
A free belt giveaway.
Yeah. Everybody's in a tournament and everybody gets a belt at the end. Like AEW's got 45 mid-card belts, and I don't know what they're called.
Make a meme of this for the show.
And I almost wore my Eddie shirt tonight. Almost put that
Should've.
on. I adore Eddie Kingston.
And the 2 promos he cut since he lost are incredible. The guy is so good. I'm just like, but who cares about the belts that he has? Like, I don't.
I think they might be putting him, like, I feel like they needed to put something on Okada, to be honest. And I think, again, that match, that belt doesn't really mean anything. I think his ROH, and because he was defending
all 3.
Which of the 3 belts was he defending?
So the tournament for the 3rd belt, he was defending the other 2. And I think the other 2, the ROH one and the New Japan Strong one, mean more than his, again, what do you call it, the Continental Crunch Wrap?
Yeah,
Yeah, like, whatever.
It's my favorite new Taco Bell item.
Interconta 24/7 wrap belt.
I don't know. I know. I think the match, the match itself was fun.
I know
Yeah, it
he
was
wanted.
fine.
I didn't like Eddie's pants. I kept talking about his bell bottoms. It was really bothering me.
I can't wait for next month. Excuse me, I'm starting my words a little bit. When Quick Check sponsors a tournament, and we have the Quick Check champion, Quick Check Intercontinental European 24/7. It's like R-Truth. It really is. R-Truth.
Yeah.
He made a whole bit out of it, but he's not wrong.
No, and
this was the tournament belt, was it not?
It was a tournament belt,
Yeah.
So why are you defending a tournament belt? It's a tournament. It's like King of the Ring. It's like you lose your crown.
So I think originally it was supposed to be like a trifecta sort of. He had the 3 belts, and he was gonna go because he had like the ROH belt, a New Japan belt, and this would be an AEW belt, and he would do all 3 all over the place. I don't think that necessarily has panned out that way. Obviously, it's not because he dropped one of them.
Yeah.
I think he might be probably dropping the other ones for a while. Again, I think it's a great match. Eddie got some TV time against Okada. Not necessarily mad at it because that belt doesn't really mean jack shit. Just love seeing my Eddie on TV.
I feel like that's a problem though. If like we're just handing out belts and none of them matter.
We
It's like,
are.
does Okada need that?
Belts
Like,
out
I
of
mean, I know
in
you're
my
saying. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I'm making everything out of my closet. It's a belt.
Because I know you were saying like, okay, give something to Okada. Because like, okay, you bring in somebody new, and if your casual person doesn't know who that is, you need to do something to make him seem like a big deal, right? And that goes back to what I was saying before about like, a friend of mine had never seen anybody, hadn't seen like 90% of the roster in the Women's Royal Rumble. Out comes Nia Jax, and he's like, oh shit, okay, like that's a big chick. And then she kills everybody. And he's like, oh shit, she's a big deal. And then Jade Cargill comes out and throws her out single-handedly. He's like, oh shit, Jade Cargill means something. And I don't know who any of these people are.
Right. The belt, the fact that they're like everyone's got like how many like, and I think a lot of the problem too is like he and I get it, the cross promotion is good with the Forbidden Door aspect, but like I don't care. I'm sorry, New Japan's great, but I don't care about the Junior United States, like all these other random belts, unless you're the New Japan World Tag Team. And that's the problem I have with New Japan, if I could say it, is that like there's Junior Tag Team Champions and there's real. What is a Junior Tag Team Champion to me? Like I don't watch
Cruiserweight Tag Team Champion.
Is it cruiserweights that are just tag team champions? Like,
yep.
To me, that's just excessive too. Like the same thing. You don't need so many belts. Make it mean something when you win a title.
Agreed.
And Steven wanted to chime back in. The Oprah free belt giveaway. You get a belt. You get a belt. Everybody gets a belt. Sign a contract. Get a belt. That's exactly. Thank you.
That's what it feels like.
Supporting my claim.
Because yeah, you were saying before too, Nick, that like, well, when I say Nick, I mean both of you guys really, because Nikki, you brought it up. Okay, so why does Kingston get 3 belts after winning this tournament, and why was he defending the Continental Crown or whatever it was called? That was Tony Khan just going, listen, I know you love New Japan, or you loved All Japan as a kid. Here's your All Japan moment, which like that's cool to give, but like.
It was fun in the moment of him winning the tournament, and that led to him and Danielson having that match, and they shook hands. And it was
oh yeah.
So it's just like he get like again, it's like his favorite little toys, and he's like, Eddie, I love you. Here's your little belties.
That's exactly what it is.
The fact that Eddie Kingston has 3 belts, and I like the guy. He's a good. I know you love Eddie Kingston, but the fact that he has 3 belts, all 3 of which seem to mean nothing to anybody. It is just like, all right, I can carry around like all this stuff. It's starting to get like, it's just too much. Like, I get you of Ring of Honor, unless Ring of Honor has a TV deal somewhere. Don't put the belts on. No one cares. No one cares that there's, first off, and here's another thing. There's trios belts.
Yep.
For both productions. for both promotions.
And they were in a stable.
That's 6 different people. Hold on, man.
Yeah, you don't like the Bang Bang Scissor Gang, Nick? No,
No.
You don't like seeing 60-year-old Billy Gunn on your TV?
It's fun for 30 seconds.
I
agreed. Mac
I
Caster
just feel
sucked, by the way.
And then you're like, oh, that was fun to say. Oh, you're terrible. Okay, let's move on.
Well, I just feel like the only reason that they have those is because they were like, oh, Jay White, we probably should have done something with you. Here's a belt. Now you can look like we did something with you. Even though you're a trios champion, which no one gives a shit that you're a tag team person because you were signed to be a main event talent. And here you are, oh yeah, just like, hey, you're Ring of Honor tag champions or trios champions, but there's trios champions, there's tag champions for both brands. So now you're talking about technically, math is hard.
Who is
6 plus that's 10 different people who have belts right off the bat. Unless you have double champions, that's 10 people.
Oh, you're talking about the trios and the tag team champions?
Yeah, if you take into account Ring of Honor and AEW's trios, now that's 6 different people, unless they're double champions, plus the tag team titles for both brands, which is another 4 different people. So you have 10 people already showing up with a belt. So when, again, Samoa Joe and Swerve is the main, that's the AEW World title, which, by the way, doesn't look as, and this is just a side note, but doesn't look as pretty as the TNT belt. The TNT belt looks much more magnificent than the AEW belt to me.
Okay.
I was just more in favor of the smaller, sleeker, but anyway. But now you're taking away from Swerve, who's on the best roll of his career. And I'm not another guy just like Drew McIntyre that I was like, all right, well, he's going to get an opportunity in AEW to show what he can do. And he's having the best run of his career, and no one's going to give a crap about it as much as they should because there's 10 other champions just in the tag team division.
Yeah.
No, Ed, go ahead.
No, I'm just agreeing with Nick that it's like nothing feels like it matters in AEW, and that's a problem to me. I want to see this succeed because it's like, competition. Competition is good for that medium, right? What you guys were saying before, all what was it? The all tides bring up all ships or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
All ships.
So it's like they're just throwing belts on everybody, and they're signing all these big name free agents. And I'm making air quotes here. You can't see it. I'm making air quotes because like I know who Will Ospreay is, but I'm a wrestling nerd, right? I'm also trying to watch my language here, so sorry. But I'm a massive wrestling nerd, so like I know who Will Ospreay is. I know who Sasha Banks is. I know who Okada is. But like, do they move the needle?
Well, I will. That's where
is WWE really missing out?
Does Ospreay? The one concern I had, because I'm a huge fan of Will Ospreay. The one concern I had with him going to any promotion, WWE or AEW, was there's no doubt he's probably the best top 3 or 4 wrestler in the world. No doubt. No matter how you put it, him with any promotion, he's one of the top 4. My concern was the charisma aspect of like, can he cut a good promo to keep people interested to get to his matches? And in terms of the eye test for the last couple of weeks, every promo he's been spot on. He has gotten over every way. And it's really disappointing because like, I was telling Nikki this the other night. I think what's going to happen, he's 150% going to be the next AJ Styles. He's going to have 2-3 years where he signed in AEW, and probably it's the best thing for him where he could be his character. But ultimately, he's going to end up being like AJ Styles. And like, I just get the feeling 3 or 4 years down the road, maybe they put the world title on him, but it's just going to be like, you should have made this jump 3 years ago, and you would have been, he could have been the next Seth Rollins in WWE. Instead, he's going to do this side trip for the next couple of years, which I understand, like family and probably financially made most sense. But that was my concern, I guess, going back to the original point.
Yeah.
Was his charisma, but he's proven it more, I would say more than, well, so far, he's gotten over more than Okada.
Oh, 100%. I would say too that like not that he needs the detour, but the detour is only going to make him better in the long run, right? I agree with you. Looking at who he is and that character and stuff, he could have been everything that WWE wants Ricochet to be. But let's say he jumps. Let's say he signs to WWE instead of going to AEW. What do you do with him right before Mania?
Say again? Sorry, you cut out.
Oh, I was just saying that let's say he signed with WWE instead of AEW. What do you do with him before Mania.
Well, no, he
put
wouldn't.
him, you would somehow insert him in the Seth Drew match. I think you'd have to shoehorn him in there.
Because part of me says you throw him in there immediately with AJ. Yeah, you give him a high profile match. The two of them can tear the house down.
I think they wait, just like with Jade. I think they're going to wait till after WrestleMania, and he would be a surprise that would come in after WrestleMania and give him the build up. And his first high profile, like big match, is probably SummerSlam.
Well, the AJ LA Knight match does nothing for me, and I feel like LA deserves more.
Agreed. I would have put him in a either. I would have put him either against Logan Paul. I feel like that's an easy build up. Would have been a fun build up.
I definitely want Randy KO and then make it a 4-way. Like that's coming from Elimination Chamber. I think that was a clearer path than having a 3-way, like the 3-way and the 2-way.
Oh, 100% agreed. Yeah, so put the 4 of them in there. Make it like a ladder match or something. Yeah. Let them tear the house down.
So Ed, March Madness theme. Any particular Final Four for you?
Can you break up the bracket again?
Yeah. So we got the top.
At a glance, I would say my Final Four would probably be.
Again, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And
yeah, so everything's chronological order.
Like half of it's 2 pages.
Yeah. I'd probably say my Final Four would be Hogan Warrior, Hogan Andre on the left, and then.
Okay, so this is one bracket. So it would be they'd enter actually in your technically the Elite 8 because the left side, if it's the left side, they're facing off, and then the final 2 are actually in your Final Four.
Gotcha. Because I was going to say for the left side it would be those 2, and then the other 2 that would make it to the finals for me would be. I'd say Taker, Shawn, and redacted Triple H and Michaels. Does that make sense?
That was my right side.
Because not for nothing, it'd be it would be a toss up for me. But like the Steve Austin Rock match, like one of the best buildups ever.
Yeah,
come on, yeah. Like the My Way buildup video is now a meme.
That's exactly what I was about to ask you. Was it the My Way? And I remember,
it's so good.
The only Limp Bizkit, like I really got into Limp Bizkit with that stupid song.
Really, you didn't have the thirst for Durst before that?
Well, no, I mean, like like the random stuff, but like, just like break some things.
Yeah, dude, break stuff, all of
it. But like, I was like, oh, this is actually like a song, I guess.
It's not just new metal; it's actually good.
Yeah, like, oh man, like he wrote a song, so I was like, oh, cool, this is cool. But that to me, just like was the epitome and maybe the apex. Well, I shouldn't say the apex. Hopefully not. But like that was the transition of like WWE's production team took it to a whole other level and was like, we're gonna do all these videos and make it look like cinematic and great, and you're gonna be invested. And now what you see, like on Raw, SmackDown, like on all the pay-per-views, I feel like came from what was established in that era of just like here's our like main event, because they didn't do it for every match. Now they do it for every match. I'm like, this works out great, but it looks so much better. You're like, oh, this is why these guys.
A lot of the other ones is like the match wasn't great, but like even think of any King Undertaker match. The match is terrible, but was the promo package going into it badass and fun? Yes.
Hell yeah, 100%.
Production, them doing their promo packages are chef's kiss. And I think sometimes the matches don't live up to that package.
Oh, and then it's always been that way. Like you can go back to like the late 95, early 96, where we're starting to get out of the new generation era, and like we're just starting to get like into the attitude, but like they still have all the new generation branding. Mm-hmm. Even back then, their promo packages were good.
Yeah.
I do want to bring up before I jump though. Mm-hmm. Have you guys seen anything that MXM has been doing? Or did you know who that is? No. So they are the former Maximum Male Models. Dio Madden and Manny.
No,
they're incredible. Do yourselves a favor, go watch DPW. I mean, just go watch Deadlock Pro in general because it's fantastic. but they had a match with Effie and Allie Catch at Effie's Big Gay Brunch. Holy
On
crap,
the
is it
card,
fantastic.
I didn't watch the match.
Second,
I know that they were on the card that match was happening, but I didn't see it.
go out of your way. Like that was one of those things I got around to. It was like, hey, you know what? I'm looking for something to watch for 20 minutes or so. I threw that on. Absolutely enjoyed it. They played a ridiculously over the top version of the Maximum Male Models, which is they're already over the top. So like, buckle up. It's fantastic.
So Ed, before we let you go,
yeah,
gun to your head, what's your WrestleMania main event national champion in this bracket?
Oh, easy. Taker Sean.
So you went to Taker Sean. All right. Well, Ed, nicely put. Pleasure as always.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys.
Well, you, sir, just like Steven, are cut off. But I like the power. This is too much power for me to have on the phone lines.
Absolute power. Absolutely.
It's unbelievable.
You know, the absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Absolute. Yes.
Anyway, this has been super long. We're rambling. I'm out of a drink.
But yeah, I think we got every comment in that's on here.
I appreciate the comments. I appreciate the calls.
Yeah.
You know, we love the banter. We love the discourse.
If you're new here, again, we've got a couple people popping in and out. Feel free to subscribe.
Share.
Smash the old Samoan spike on the subscribe. But as long as the line's clear, we're clear. Unless anyone else wants to chime in here. But it's been a fun show. What are we looking forward to tonight?
Well, Cody is supposed to show up with a face-to-face with Roman. And then Roman's supposed to show up by himself, and Cody's supposed to show up by himself. And Jay's like, you can't go there by themselves. And he's like, well, I shook Paul Heyman's hand.
Yeah, he's a gentleman.
Oh, he's going to get beat up.
Who honors his word.
Shows up. What tattoo is coming? Oh, who's the...
Jacob Button?
Yeah, he's probably going to come out and hit somebody.
That would be kind of awesome, actually.
Because he's not in the bloodline.
Yet.
I don't know. I think shenanigans are going to happen, but we'll talk about next week.
Yeah, we're excited. I'm excited for that little. I mean, honestly, I'm excited because of the fact that, like, at least it eliminates in theory, all the BS and gives them their spotlight for a few minutes of like, this is still the match that you're really tuning in for. Mm-hmm. Like, just don't forget. But yeah, this has been fun. A little longer, a little bit different this time than usual. We're gonna try and do more of these over the course of the months, the weeks. Fun aspect. Last week we did Irish wrestlers. This week we did a March Madness bracket. Hopefully next time, if we do a bracket, maybe next year, it'll be more legible. Don't blame me. Blame Triple H and Vince McMahon's booking of triple threats all over the years. But next week, I think we're back to probably a more normalized show of just recapping the weeks.
We got one more week. I was gonna it's go home shows, but we're not there.
No. Well, we got a lot going on.
To the go home.
What's fun is we've got a lot planned for WrestleMania week. That's going to be a very crazy week. I don't know how much sleep you and I are going to get, but we're probably going to do multiple shows that weekend in the upwards of 2 to 4, maybe.
Homework. He gives me homework, kids.
Yes. I put her to work. This is how we all remain effective, right? Like a body at rest stays at rest. A body in motion stays in motion. So let's keep in motion. Mm-hmm. Regardless, great week as always. We look forward to seeing you next week, Friday at 6. Enjoy SmackDown. We are only as of this recording.
So much to do in the next 15 minutes. Let's wrap it up, kids.
I know. Well, by the time this probably gets posted, SmackDown will probably start.
Or end.
Let's wishful thinking. Positive thoughts. Regardless, it's been a great time. We'll see you next week. Until next time, you don't have to go home.
But you can't stay here. Bye.